Chapter 401, Yan's Prestige. While Tang Xiu walked alongside Gu Yan toward the main building, a pale smile was revealed on his handsome face, saying, "The lesson is that there's strength in numbers, and more logs can make a bigger fire. I was only absorbed in my own strength. I neglected my own subordinates, leading to the differences in their wills, as well as having my force scattered. Eventually, when I was facing the tribulation to ascend to godhood, I faced the betrayal from my beloved and my best friends. Do you mean it's very important to foster loyal and devoted subordinates, Master? But the main reason why I trained so many men was because I wanted to find you," Gu Yan said. Looking at her tenderly, Tang Xiu said, "That's right, I must cultivate subordinates. If at that time I had many loyal and powerful men to protect me, perhaps they would have been able to help me constrain them even if they wanted to assault me when I was at the most critical time of crossing the tribulation. As long as I succeeded in crossing the tribulation, I would have achieved the God King stage in the immortal world, gaining the qualification to enter the gate to eternity. Just as the divinity power fell from the God realm, my strength would have soared and I could have easily defeated those traitors." Gu Yan looked pensive and then said, "Master, I understand your point. A lot of my subordinates died in these thousands of years. Many a times did they help me restrain my enemies so that I could survive. There is betrayal and loyalty in this world." Tang Xiu nodded and said, "What we must do is just stay alert and keep our vigilance while observing those around us. In the end, only time will tell a true friend from a false one. Only then will we naturally be aware of those who we can fully cultivate, and those who we must abandon before it's too late." "I understand, Master." Gu Yan smiled and suddenly said, "Let's stop talking about these serious topics. You see, I came out and am finally able to see the outside world again. We should be enjoying this." He faintly smiled at her, yet a distressed look flashed from Tang Xiu's eyes. His eyes were as though torches. How could he be unable to see that his disciple was currently enduring pain from twilight nightmare effect? At this moment, she was enduring a knife-twisting pain. Smiling on the surface, a crazy murderous intent toward Shade Demon, Zhu Wushou grew inside Tang Xiu's heart. He changed his mind at this moment. He must not let him die so easily after dealing with Zhu Wushou in the future. He would extract his soul, refine it for 1,000,000 years, and make him bear the cruelest tortures for millions years more. "You're right, Yan. We indeed should be enjoying this." The Everlasting Feast Hall had a lot of strong powerhouses. At this time, there were more than 100 there. However, when the patrol members passed by and their eyes fell on the two figures, their pupils suddenly shrank. Their expression drastically changed as ecstasy filled their hearts. Whoosh! 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 Four figures dashed like the wind and appeared before Tang Xiu and Gu Yan and, simultaneously, kowtowed toward them, paying respect to the bosses. Their voices shivered, a few crystalline tears appearing in their eyes. Evidently, it was not because of Tang Xiu, but because of Gu Yan. "Bai Yi, Bai Pang, Song Wu, Hua Yang, the four of you still like to be together, don't you? It's been more than 10 years since we last met, right? Anyhow, you're all not bad. Xiao Xue told me about all of you." Gu Yan smiled, but her hands gently pulled Tang Xiu's arm. Warmness filled the four men's hearts. Little did they expect that the boss would actually recognize them in a glance and remember their names, even after so many years had passed. Furthermore, even after so many years, boss was still so young and beautiful. That fluttering white dress was unforgettable. However, after the four of them were lifted by a stream of qi, they looked puzzled upon seeing Gu Yan's posture as she held Tang Xiu's arm. Gu Yan no longer looked at the four men. Her stunning face blushed as she said with a smile, "Master, let's eat. I always wake up hungry, but old Ji only lets me eat some fruits or some medicinal soup." Yan can be said to have not eaten a real meal for nearly 10 years. "All right, let's go." Tang Xiu smiled and nodded. The two figures continued walking forward. Whenever they passed, beautiful blooming flowers and birds flew over, Gu Yan dancing lightly like a joyful fairy, dancing around Tang Xiu, squatting, and passing back and forth around the flowers and birds. Her cheerful and joyous laughter obviously showed the most vivid expression of her happy mood. Bai Yi, Bai Pang, and the others exchanged glances. Although they knew that the little boss, Gu Xiaoxue, called Tang Xiu Grandmaster, yet, when they heard Gu Yan call Tang Xiu Master, only shock remained in their hearts. Inform the others.
Yeah.
Notify them quickly. The four men took their mobile phones out and dialed the other members' cell numbers. Whoosh. Ji Qimei silently appeared before the four men and indifferently said, "You can inform the others, but do remember that you all are not to disturb Master and Venerable Lord. If Master wants to see everyone, that will have to wait until they have their feast." Understood, the quartet hastily replied reverentially. Along the way, Gu Yan was like an incarnation of a carefree and happy fairy. Following alongside Tang Xiu and talking about all sorts of relaxing topics. Her graceful, charming figure danced lightly from time to time, making all the Everlasting Feast Hall's core members dumbfounded. Almost all 100 core members of the Everlasting Feast Hall were experts Gu Yan herself had personally trained. Yet, they had never seen her showing such attitude. She resembled a little girl with her cheerful smiling face. In front of the main building, dozens of Everlasting Feast Hall's core members looked ecstatic as they stood on both sides of the path, quietly waiting for Gu Yan's arrival. However, when the two figures appeared at the end of the trail, the look of ecstasy on their faces froze and was gradually replaced by disbelief. Was that, boss? How did she become a child? Of everyone, only Tang Xiu didn't feel that there were any problems with Gu Yan's words and behavior. In his eyes, she was always a child. He raised her up and watched her grow day by day. Paying respect to boss. Dozens of Everlasting Feast Hall's core members saluted to them as they arrived. Very good. Although I haven't seen you all for many years, Xiaoxue has told me about your deeds. Gu Yan smiled and said, "Very good. I'm very happy with all of your performances over the years. However, I won't be showing up frequently. Anyhow, this man is my master and my closest relative. His orders are more important than my own. He's also the first person to whom you must pledge your allegiance and loyalty." Understood. Dozens of big strong men cupped their fists at the same time. Meanwhile, from various directions in the distance, many shadows were rapidly approaching. There were both genders among these people, and all of them emitted a valiant and powerful aura. Paying respect to boss. Standing beside her, Tang Xiu glanced at her happy expression as she praised everyone, speaking some words with them. He suddenly came to a realization. The little girl he brought up had really grown up. "Yen, let's go inside," Tang Xiu said softly. Showing a faint smile in response, Gu Yan affectionately clung to Tang Xiu's arm as she turned around and entered the restaurant's main building. She took the lead as the duo went to the VIP room. Wow, what a sumptuous meal. After entering the room, Gu Yan's smile turned into a crescent moon shape when she saw the long table filled with fragrant dishes full of aromas and flavors. She then quickly pulled Tang Xiu to the table. Time passed by. Tang Xiu and Gu Yan slowly ate the feast, yet the atmosphere was exceptionally warm. At the moment, hundreds of people had gathered outside the Everlasting Feast Hall's main building. All of them were waiting with respectful and reverential looks on their faces, including Gu Xiaoxue, who just came out of the main building. At this time, many patrons who had come to dine at the Everlasting Feast Hall noted this strange sight. Many of them were wondering and asked about the cause. They all looked to have a particular temperament. Huh? What's going on? While holding the car keys, as Ouyang Lulu came around the Everlasting Feast Hall's main building, her expression slightly changed. She had visited the Everlasting Feast Hall many times, so she knew that most of them were the members of the Everlasting Feast Hall. Yet, she was clueless as to why they would all gather together. Most of them were even arranged in an orderly group as those soldiers calmly waiting in silence. Lulu. With a happy smile on her face, Gu Xiaoxue approached Ouyang Lulu. What's going on? Ouyang Lulu asked in surprise, is Tang Xiu here? But even if he was here, it wouldn't have caused such a big scene. By the way, have a look at those guests, they are all looking at here. Boss is here. Gu Xiaoxue smirked, he and my master are currently dining inside. Your master? Ouyang Lulu stared wide-eyed. She already knew that Gu Xiaoxue had a mysterious master, but she had never seen her. Afterward, because the relationship between Tang Xiu and the Everlasting Feast Hall, she went back to ask her mother. She then learned the matter about Gu Yan from her mother. Sister Shui, your master is back? Yes, she came back. Gu Xiaoxue chuckled as she nodded. Then, I'll go to visit her. Ouyang Lulu quickly said, I also want to ask Tang Xiu when he'll return my private jet. Shaking her head, Gu Xiaoxue stopped her and said, Lulu, leave that for later. Let my master dine with Grand Master alone. Why? Ouyang Lulu was puzzled. Giving an apologetic look, Gu Xiaoxue shook her head and said, Lulu, I can't tell you right now. But I want you to listen to me. Master and Grand Master have finally reunited. They need some private space. With an odd expression, Ouyang Lulu looked at Gu Xiaoxue. But still, she nodded and said, forget it then. Since it's like this, I'll be waiting here with you. To be honest, I'm really curious about your master. Thanks. Gu Xiaoxue said with a faint smile. Chapter 402, Feast at Hong Gate. The night sky was encrusted with stars, as soft starlight fluttered down on earth. Like before, the situation in front of Jingmen Island's Everlasting Feast Hall was still lively. However, some large local forces as well as big families residing in Jingmen Island had also learned of what was happening there through various channels. What's happening here? With two subordinates, Tang Dong came to the front of the Everlasting Feast Hall's main building. He suddenly furrowed his brows, looking scared. Behind him, his two men looked at the hundreds of core members of the Everlasting Feast Hall as if they were facing formidable enemies. Boss, could this be one of Gao Yanfeng's schemes? A big man whispered. I don't think so. Tang Dong shook his head and said, I know some of them. They are the Everlasting Feast Hall's people. Even if Gao Yanfeng wants to make things difficult for us, it's impossible for him to do that in the Everlasting Feast Hall. Hence, such a thing like the feast at Hong Gate won't happen tonight, but investigating should not be a problem. Immediately, Tang Dong bypassed them and quickly entered the building toward the box reserved by the other party. He didn't notice Gu Xiaoxue and Ouyang Lulu, who were standing in the diagonally opposite corner. However, Ouyang Lulu actually saw him and looked a bit surprised. Xiaoxue, I think I just saw Tang Xiu's uncle. Grand Master's uncle? Who was it? He's Tang Dong from our Jingmen Island. Ouyang Lulu whispered, we met him at the Tang family's residence in Beijing when Tang Xiu had an accident previously. Gu Xiaoxue suddenly realized. She frowned and thought for a moment, and then said, as I recall, he's also a member of the Tangs, and also the owner of the Seaside Straight Manor. I forgot about this since I was taking care of other things before. It seems like the Everlasting Feast Hall ought to be closer to the Seaside Straight Manor in the future. You're way too biased, Sister Shui. Ouyang Lulu rolled her eyes and said, the both of us have a very close relationship, and I'm very close with Tang Xiu as well. But why do you want to get closer to the Seaside Straight Manor and don't want to be closer to my Ouyang family? You know my grandpa has always wanted to see your master before, yet you always refused. You don't understand. Gu Xiaoxue said. What I don't understand? Ouyang Lulu snorted, I really don't get it. Why you address Tang Xiu as Grand Master? Looking at his age, he's far from one. Lulu, will you please shut up? Gu Xiaoshue's complexion darkened and chided, if you speak any nonsensical things again, see if I don't break all relations with you. You don't want me to say. Okay, I'm not saying anything. Ouyang Lulu resentfully turned her head, yet she cursed inwardly. Inside the main building. In a private room, just as Tang Dong stepped inside, two middle-aged men were already waiting there. One of them was a fat man with a shaved head, wearing a jade pendant around his neck, and also wearing 6 or 7 gold rings on his fingers. The other one was a slightly thin middle-aged man, wearing glasses and looking refined. However, his triangular eyes looked cold and grim. Oh, I thought the respected owner of the Seaside Straight Manor, Master Tang, wouldn't dare to come tonight. The thin middle-aged man, Gao Yanfeng, sarcastically said with a smirk. Coldly snorting in response, Tang Dong then went to the opposite side of the round table and took a seat. He then said indifferently, Gao Yanfeng, let alone in Jingmen Island, even in the entire China, there's no place this Tang Dong does not dare to go. Ask yourself, aren't you the one who is always a coward? How come you're acting so insolent now? Don't tell me you have someone to support you? Tang Dong, who are you calling a coward? Gao Yanfeng got up abruptly and bellowed angrily. You shouldn't forget that it's your Seaside Straight Manor who has a problem and needs to ask something from me, not the other way around. Anger me and you will find yourself having your navigation line to Evil Dragon Sea area directly cut off. Why don't you try it if you really got the ability? Tang Dong shouted back coldly. Sitting between the two, the fat middle-aged man slammed the table with his shining fingers, shouting, didn't you say you wanted to solve the problem? Why are you still quarreling? You two wanted me to become the middleman this time, and I'll do as requested. But if you continue acting like this, I'm out. Gao Yanfeng stared at Tang Dong. He then relaxed and lit a cigarette. Tang Dong's brows furrowed slightly and went silent. The fat middle-aged man was surnamed Ji Xiaolong. People called him Fatty Ji, and he could be said to be a character with quite the influence in Jingmen Island. His force was by no means inferior compared to Gao Yanfeng's wine garden and Tang Dong's Seaside Straight Manor. Hence, all the forces in Jingmen Island would also give him some face. Fatty Ji lit a cigarette and watched the two silent men. Afterward, he grinned and nodded in satisfaction, Tang Dong, this time I'm just a middleman. I invited the two of you here in the hopes that you can come to an agreement. Afterward, your Seaside Straight Manor's fleet can finally hurry for the Evil Dragon Sea area. I want to hear what Boss Gao wants to say first. Tang Dong said in a deep voice. That's easy. The island I bought is just on the side of Evil Dragon Sea area's navigation line. Gao Yanfeng sneered, if you want to pass by my island, you'll have to give us some profits. Else, you can open another route and pass from there. You want to profit from my Seaside Straight Manor? Tang Dong scornfully replied, I'm afraid you'll have to pay your life for that. Tang Dong, you want to scare me with your trivial Seaside Straight Manor? Gao Yanfeng mocked and said, my wine garden is on par with your Seaside Straight Manor. If you really want to lose all decorum with me, then I'll accompany you just fine. Besides, doesn't your Tang family is in quite a difficult time? I know you're a member of Beijing's Tang family, but your Tang family has lost quite a lot in Guangyang. Your family may have scared me before, but since I know you have the Yaos as your archenemy, would I still fear you? If worst comes to worst, this father can just go to the Yaos. You. This was the move Tang Dong most feared. His Seaside Straight Manor may be a little stronger than Gao Yanfeng's wine garden. However, if they were to fight, even if he exterminated him, the Seaside Straight Manor would suffer heavy losses as well. On the other hand, if he were to use the Tang family's forces, it was highly likely that Gao Yanfeng would be forced to act out of desperation and thus pledge allegiance to the Yao family. The Yaos would certainly accept such a powerful dog as well. Going further, if Gao Yanfeng brought the Yaos to Jingmen Island, it would be harder for his seaside straight manor to survive. Looking at the two, Fatty G chuckled and smiled, Tang Dong. Gao Yanfeng bought that island, and he wants to establish a large-scale aquaculture around the island. But if your seaside straight manor go through there, won't he incur some losses? Hence, I suggest that both of you take a step back. Gao Yanfeng must permit you to use the navigational route, and you must give him some compensation. Thus, the issue is solved. What compensation? Tang Dong asked. Gao Yanfeng had already said his bottom line before you came. Fatty G said, the breeding aqua farm he's about to build is very big, and the total investment would be in the billions. If your seaside straight manor can compensate him 200 million yuan annually, and give him one dead fierce beast every time you hunt, he will permit you to use the navigational route. How about it? Cut the crap with his unrealistic demand. Tang Dong was furious and bellowed. My brothers at the seaside straight manor take great risks going to the evil Dragon Sea area and hunting those fierce beasts. Every time they go hunting they will spend many days and are barely able to hunt one. If we have to give one to Gao Yanfeng, doesn't it mean that we will have nothing to eat? And that 200 million annual compensation, you're crazy if you think I'll give you money. Banging the table with his palm, Gao Yanfeng stood up and shouted, you don't agree? Then your seaside straight manor should just find another navigational route. This father will go back to my island to start building the aquaculture farms. Hey, you two, sit down. Fatty G squinted his eyes and said loudly. Inside the VIP lounge in the main building, Tang Xiu accompanied Gu Yan tasting various delicious dishes. Gu Yan was like a small greedy cat, yelling while sipping 2 mouthfuls of wine. Tang Xiu had brought 2 boxes of wine from his villa in Southgate Town, thus, he took out a bottle and poured half a cup for her. You can only drink this much. You're too stingy, master. Gu Yan's eyes sparkled and said with a smile, I drank 2 jars of God's nectar in one breath back then in the immortal world. You also know about that wine, don't you? Those 2 jars were drunk by me alone, and I didn't even get drunk. This time is different. Tang Xiu shook his head and said, you are now currently injured, thus you cannot drink too much. I can only give you half a cup. It's already extravagant. All right, just drink it and let's continue eating. I'll take you out to enjoy the night view. Feeling sweet inside, Gu Yan gobbled up the half cup of God's nectar and then said in astonishment, Master, the taste of this wine is kind of familiar. No. It seems to be missing something, though. I made the recipe myself. Tang Xiu said with a smile, so it's natural that you're familiar with its taste. However, I did substitute some of the materials, though. It's a lot worse, so it does taste like something is missing. Gu Yan suddenly understood. She then looked at the packaging box, and then shifted her eyes to the bottle. After that, she curiously asked, Master, you opened a winery, didn't you? Smart. Tang Xiu laughed and said, I have indeed opened a winery, and it's very profitable now. True that. A winery opened by Master, how wouldn't it be profitable? Gu Yan said and let out a sweet smile, if no one buys it, it means they are stupid. All right, come. Let's eat. Tang Xiu used his chopstick to clamp a dish and put it into Gu Yan's bowl. Quickly, the duo felt full of food and wine. With Gu Yan clutching his arm, the duo then came outside the main building. As they saw the scene outside, Gu Yan then smiled and said, Haven't you dispersed yet? Well, so many of you returned. Paying respect to boss. Those who came back from the outside saluted reverentially. Gu Yan waved her hand and said, Off with the ceremony. From now henceforth, you all must behave and listen to my master's commands. He is the highest ruler of the everlasting feast hall, and his will shall be your will. Affirmative. All of them answered again. Gu Yan then said, All right. All of you are dismissed. Don't affect the restaurant's normal operations. Chapter 403, Contest of Beauties. As they dispersed, Tang Xiu's eyes then fell on Ouyang Lulu, who stood next to Gu Xiaoxue and hadn't left yet. At this time, however, Ouyang Lulu actually wasn't looking at Tang Xiu, instead, she was staring at Gu Yan. Her mouth was slightly open, with disbelief in her eyes. Beautiful. She was beautiful, breathtakingly beautiful. Be it her makings, looks, or figure, Ouyang Lulu was very confident in her assets. She was even confident of not being inferior to Gu Xiaoxue. However, the woman before her was too stunningly beautiful, seeming to be more beautiful than any women in this world and under the 9 heavens. A captivating and enchanting beauty. Lulu. Gu Xiaoxue gently touched Ouyang Lulu. It made her sober up from her reverie and made her heartbeat thump rapidly. Sister Shui, is she your master? With some disbelief, Ouyang Lulu asked. She felt that this breathtakingly beautiful woman in front of her was way too young. Thus, she could hardly believe it. From her mother, this woman called Gu Yan was the one who established the Everlasting Feast Hall dozens of years ago. Yeah. Gu Xiaoxue nodded. How is this possible? The Everlasting Feast Hall's boss from dozens of years ago is still so young? Ouyang Lulu murmured, this is way too unscientific. Could there be an elixir of life in this world that can make one keep their youth? With a smile on her beautiful face, Gu Xiaoxue cupped her fist and said, Master, she's my friend and also Grandmaster's friend, Ouyang Lulu. She came for you, Master. A friend? This child is very beautiful. With a smile on her face, Gu Yan smiled and praised, you should be from the Ouyang family, yes? I happened to be busy at the time you were born. When I got the good news of your birth, I gifted your family a full moon wine bottle. Ouyang Lulu's heart shook. With a respectful expression on her face, she replied, are you really Sister Shui's master? But how come you're Tang Xiu's disciple? How old are you? With tenderness in her eyes, Gu Yan turned to Tang Xiu. She then chuckled and said, of course I'm his disciple. It's because the one who brought me up is him. What? Ouyang Lulu's eyes turned saucer, looking terrified and consternated. She looked at Tang Xiu and then shifted her eyes to observe Gu Yan again. After the shock dissipated, she suddenly felt that this matter was truly absurd. Tang Xiu brought up Gu Yan? What kind of joke is this? How old is Tang Xiu now? He should be in his early 20s, right? What about Gu Yan? Dozens of years ago her appearance was in her 20s or something. Although she is still in her 20s now, she should be around her 40s or 50s. Yet, a young man in his 20s brought up a person in her 40s or 50s. Isn't this nonsense? Looking at Ouyang Lulu's ever-changing expression, Tang Xiu could only sigh inwardly. He then turned to Gu Yan, shaking his head. After she also shook her head, Tang Xiu's eyes then landed on Ouyang Lulu as he said, Lulu, don't listen to Yan's nonsensical talk, she was just teasing you. Anyhow, tell me, do you have anything to tell me? Nonsense? Ouyang Lulu readily believed Tang Xiu's explanation. Getting depressed and with complicated feelings inside, she replied, actually, I don't have any important matter to talk about. I knew you came to Jingmen Island with my private jet, so I came looking for you to ask when you'll return it. Oh, I no longer need it. Tang Xiu said with a smile, I was in a hurry to arrive at the Everlasting Feast Hall, so I forgot to tell the captain. Anyways, we still have some things to do, so it's rather inconvenient to chat with you. After I got some free time, I'll invite you to diner. Gu Yan pulled Tang Xiu's arm and nodded to Ouyang Lulu with a smile. The duo then walked toward the winding path that led to the beach. Ouyang Lulu looked at the duo's back and watched their closeness and gaped. Only after they had disappeared did she stop gaping, her face turning somewhat unsightly. She suddenly felt that Tang Xiu and Gu Yan didn't look like master and disciple, instead, they were akin to a couple. Such a discovery made her feel very vexed. Lulu. Gu Xiaoxue came to her side and stood by her. She then sighed and said, I know what you have in mind. Although I don't know much about love, and neither do I know about the feelings between men and women, but I can tell when I see it. You have a crush on Grand Master, don't you? However, I don't think you have much hope, though. Ouyang Lulu suddenly turned around with anger in her eyes. She growled quietly, how come I have no hope? I, Ouyang Lulu, will give everything to the one I fall in love with. No way in hell there's a man in this world that can escape from my palm. That's what I believe. Lulu, you and Grandmaster are people from different worlds. You're not suitable for him. Gu Xiaoxue sighed. Gu Xiaoxue, I know Tang Xiu is your Grandmaster. I know that your master and he have an unusual relationship. Ouyang Lulu scowled, but if you talk about this again, don't blame me for not acknowledging you as a sister anymore. Startled, a forced smile appeared on Gu Xiaoxue's beautiful face. She indeed hadn't experienced love before. However, it didn't mean that she had never seen it from others despite having yet to experience it. There were so many living examples in reality, to begin with. The reality made her aware of a truth. A woman who falls in love tends to be unreasonable. Let's go. I'll accompany you for a bit. Gu Xiaoxue said. Vexed and in a very bad mood, Ouyang Lulu was devoid of any appetite. She refused Gu Xiaoxue's idea and left the everlasting feast hall as fast as she could. In the past she had no sense of crisis, but it was different now. Today, Gu Yan's appearance struck her heart deeply. She recalled all those women Tang Xiu was acquainted with. There should be several of them, and all of their circumstances as well as appearances were not inferior to hers. The one who made her guard against the most was the magnificent Tang Corp's general manager, Kong Xia. Like people said, those on the waterfront are the first to see the rising moon. Thus, she would gain special advantages since she had a favorable position. With Kong Xia managing Tang Xiu's company, their relations were certain to be very close. It was only a matter of course that some feelings would arise after a long time. The more Ouyang Lulu thought about it, the more she accidentally hit the roadside stones. If it weren't for the lights from a truck, she would have already suffered a car accident. No. I can't go on like this. Like people say, the first one to strike will prevail, and the one who attacks late will suffer. Regardless of the price, I must make Tang Xiu my man. Relying on this Ouyang Lulu's charm, I believe he will fall in love with me. She slapped the steering wheel and her confidence back to her face. After restarting the car, she quickly headed toward the end of the road. On the winding path leading to the beach from the everlasting feast hall, a concerned look appeared on Tang Xiu's face as he whispered, Yan, are you feeling unwell? No, I'm fine. Gu Yan revealed a smile, yet her gestures and movements unknowingly sold her out. Quickly after, the duo then arrived at the coast. However, at this time, Gu Xiaoxue reverentially said, Grand Master, there are some conflicts between some people in our everlasting feast hall. Although the table is already served, they haven't begun despite already having confronted each other. One of them is someone from your Tang family. A member of the Tangs? Tang Xiu's brows slanted, surprised, who is it? Tang Dong. Gu Xiaoxue said. Tang Xiu looked blank, as a puzzled expression appeared on his face. It was because Tang Dong managed the Seaside Straight Manor, whose nature business was similar to that of the everlasting feast hall. Yet, why did he not dine at his Seaside Straight Manor, and instead came to the everlasting feast hall? After pondering for a moment, Tang Xiu asked, who's the person he has a conflict with? He is Jingmen Island's wine garden's boss, Gao Yanfeng. Gu Xiaoxue said, however, there's also Ji Xiaolong there as well. He runs a mineral mine here. I see. Order some people to stop them. I'll deal with them later. Tang Xiu nodded and said. Understood. Gu Xiaoxue nodded. Master, I'll go with you. Gu Yan hastily said. Tang Xiu lifted his hand to caress her gorgeous hair. He then shook his head and said, Be obedient, Yan. Your condition doesn't allow you to stay outside for long periods of time. We already spent quite a lot of time dining. If you want to, Master will accompany you for some more time. But first you have to stay inside the exquisite pagoda, then I'll come back later after I deal with this issue. After thinking for a moment and feeling that Tang Xiu was right, she suddenly looked a bit shy and embarrassed. She then said, Then, you must come back soon, Master. Don't worry. Tang Xiu said with a smile, Let's go, I'll walk you to the exquisite pagoda first. On the first floor of the exquisite pagoda, Ji Qimei, Light, and Dark were waiting there. After seeing Tang Xiu and Gu Yan coming back, Ji Qimei then respectfully asked, Do you want to stay here for a few days, Lord?
Yeah.
I must accompany Yan since she's awake. Tang Xiu nodded and said, Anyways, go busy yourself. If there's something arise, I'll look for you. Affirmative. The trio replied and quickly exited the exquisite pagoda. As they arrive on the 7th floor, Tang Xiu looked at Gu Xiaoxue as she floated. He then sat cross-legged on the ice bed, smiled and said, Yan, stay here for a while. I'll quickly come back. All right. Gu Yan smiled sweetly. In the everlasting feast hall, inside a box, tables and chairs were lying everywhere. The room was chaotic. Both sides confronting each other were furious, yet Fatty Ji frowned deeply, as his expression when he stared at Tang Dong was quite awful. At this time, Tang Dong wished that he could kill Gao Yanfeng personally because of his outrageously high asking price. It was evident that he had neither the intention nor the sincerity to negotiate. Fatty Ji himself was not good either. Though he did come to act as peacemaker, he was obviously biased toward Gao Yanfeng. Nobody knew what benefits he received from Gao Yanfeng. Tang Dong, even if you throw the tables, it's useless. Gao Yanfeng sneered and scowled, Who told you to act late and lose the island? I already bought 50 years of property rights over it. If your seaside straight manor wants that navigation route, then accept the price I give you. Else, you only have 2 options to choose from. The first is waiting 50 years, then you can buy the property rights of the island. However, that will be a minute possibility since I have the preferential right to repurchase it. The second one is for you to find another navigation route. Chapter 404, Cut the Throat for a Word of Disagreement. Tang Dong clenched his fists and said in a heavy tone, Will you really give me no room for negotiations? No. Gao Yanfeng complacently said. Heaving a deep breath, Tang Dong then turned around to leave. At this time, however, Gu Xiaoxue appeared at the door. As she saw the situation inside, she said lightly, My everlasting feast hall provides the box for the guests to dine. Here is not a place where you can behave atrociously. I have sent people to prepare the room next door, so I have to ask you to go there. Boss Gu, what exactly are we going to do in the next door? Tang Dong's brows furrowed. Gu Xiaoxue didn't show any hostility toward Tang Dong. On the contrary, she showed a bit of respect due to the relationship between him and Tang Xiu. Mr. Tang, I'm not the everlasting feast hall's owner. The master has changed. As a matter of fact, this is an instruction from our boss. Please go to the box next door and wait for a while. He will catch up with us soon. Please lead the way. Feeling that Gu Xiaoxue didn't hold any hostility toward him, Tang Dong's brows raised as he nodded and replied. Glancing at Gao Yanfeng and Ji Xiaolong, Gu Xiaoxue then turned around to leave. Looking a bit confused, Gao Yanfeng then looked at Ji Xiaolong and asked, Can you tell me what are the everlasting feast hall's intentions? Why does the everlasting feast hall want to meddle in the issues between me and the seaside straight manor? Fatty G, the everlasting feast hall's strength is something everyone is unable to unravel. Perhaps even both of us are not necessarily their opponents. Fatty G frowned deeply as a cold expression showed on his plump face. He pulled Gao Yanfeng to the outside and whispered, "Don't talk nonsense. The everlasting feast hall's dreadfulness is not something our joined forces can match. I'll tell you something. Just a dozen of their people are enough to exterminate us." "Are you for real?" Gao Yanfeng was horrified. "How do you know?" "Forget how I know," Fatty G said in undertone voice. "In any case, you must remember to never provoke the everlasting feast hall. Moreover, you must build friendship with the everlasting feast hall if there's a chance. Even if you have to pay a price." Gao Yanfeng knew Fatty G's character. He knew that the man never said anything just to scare people out. However, although the everlasting feast hall did indeed hide some of their strength, could it be that they were really as terrifying as Ji Xiaolong said? They then went to the box next room with Gu Xiaoxue. The box was twice larger than the previous one and was enough to accommodate dozens of people. At this time, the furniture inside had been removed, and the everlasting feast hall staff had unknowingly placed several sofas and placed them against the wall. "Gentlemen, please have a seat." Gu Xiaoxue went straight to the back and directly took the middle seat. Although Tang Dong was clueless as to why the everlasting feast hall was intervening in this matter, he actually didn't feel any hostility from Gu Xiaoxue. Therefore, he felt calm and secure as he sat down on the right side sofa, in front of Gu Xiaoxue. As for Gao Yanfeng and Fatty G, they took a seat on the left sofa. Fatty G's eyes then fell on Gu Xiaoxue. Despite her breathtaking beauty, he actually didn't dare to show any dirty actions toward her. He cupped his fists and said, "Elderly Gu. My name is Gu Xiaoxue." Gu Xiaoxue said lightly. Fatty G quickly changed the address and said, "Miss Gu, may I ask who is the current master of the everlasting feast hall?" "You'll naturally know it when our boss arrives," Gu Xiaoxue said lightly. Forcing out a smile, Fatty G knew that it was a pile of rubbish. However, he wanted to clear out his perplexed feeling, as he then asked again, "Miss Gu, we have indeed had a small scuffle in your everlasting feast hall, but it's just a trivial matter. We had yet to act against each other. We will naturally pay for all the damage done, double. Anyhow, we don't understand why would your boss want to see us." Maintaining her indifference expression, Gu Xiaoxue replied with the same words as before, "You'll naturally know it when our boss has arrived." Fatty G fell into silence. For a while, the atmosphere in the box became a bit suffocating. "Boss?" The everlasting feast hall's security staff's voice was heard from outside the box. N. Tang Shou nodded in response. As he stepped into the box, he could clearly see the situation inside. When his eyes met with Tang Dong's, he could see the disbelief in them. "Boss?" Gu Xiaoxue stood and called out as she lightly walked toward Tang Shou. Nodding to her in response, Tang Shou then walked a few steps toward Tang Dong, who was already standing. He then chuckled and said, "Uncle Dong, I heard you were in the everlasting feast hall, and you even had a conflict with some people. How is it? Have you solved the conflict yet?" Tang Dong finally awakened from his shock. He sized up Tang Shou before he asked in wonderment, "Tang Shou, are you the new owner of the everlasting feast hall? Can I still be called new?" Tang Shou chuckled and said, "It's been several months already." Tang Dong fell into silence for a while before his expression changed. His expression replaced by excitement, he then laughed and said, "Great, great, great. I never thought that the everlasting feast hall's people turned out to be our own people. At first, I thought that I was at disadvantage, but I really had never thought that it's like the winding paths along the mountain ridges." At this moment, Gao Yanfeng and Fatty G's expression turned somewhat unsightly. Never in their wildest dreams did they thought that the everlasting feast hall's master would turn out to be a member of the Tangs. Trouble. Big trouble. The duo exchanged glances, looking bitter and astringent. Tang Xiu nodded as he walked to the seat where Gu Xiaoxue had just vacated. He waved his hand, hinting for everyone to sit down. Following that, he then looked at Gao Yanfeng and Fatty Ji and indifferently said, "I'll introduce myself. I'm Tang Xiu, the owner of the Everlasting Feast Hall and a member of the Tang family. How should I address the both of you?" Fatty Ji quickly replied, "My name is Ji Xiaolong. You can call me Fatty Ji." Gao Yanfeng. Gao Yanfeng replied in a stiff tone. "Now, tell me. What's the situation?" Tang Xiu said. "Tang Xiu, you know that our seaside straight manor has been hunting fierce beasts in that oceanic trench nearby. But due to the recent small earthquake there 2 months ago, the fierce beasts suddenly disappeared. Out of desperation, our seaside straight manor had no choice but to go to the evil Dragon Sea area to hunt some low-rank fierce beasts there." Gao Yanfeng found out about the situation and then, by using some underhanded means, he bought the island in the middle of the navigation route, threatening to build an aquaculture farm there. Thus, he cut off the sea route for our seaside straight manor. Furthermore, he put forth some conditions. However, the price he's asking is too outrageous, it's simply extortion. This Fatty Ji, who ostensibly raised the flag as the peacemaker on the surface, turns out to be partial to Gao Yanfeng. Looking at the angry Tang Dong, Tang Xiu let out a smile and said, "It turns out to be such a trivial matter. It's all right, leave it to me. How do you plan to solve this?" Tang Dong doubtfully said. Giving him a reassuring look, Tang Xiu then looked at Gao Yanfeng and said, "You're Gao Yanfeng, right? Since you know that I'm a member of the Tang family, naturally, I'll also become your enemy. Well, I can also act benevolently toward my enemies, so I'll give you a chance. You can choose between 2 options. The first option, transfer the island to the seaside straight manor at the price of 1 yuan. Impossible. Gao Yanfeng immediately jumped up and yelled. Then you can only choose the second option. Tang Xiu said with a pale smile. What's the second option? Gao Yanfeng forcefully suppressed his fury and growled. Tang Xiu's figure instantly appeared in front of him as a light blade flashed. Then, Tang Xiu was back to the sofa, saying with a smile, "The second option is your life ending, killed by me on the spot. All of your wine gardens people will be cleaned up and all of your properties will be transferred to me. You." Gao Yanfeng lifted his right hand, pointing his finger at Tang Xiu. However, his left hand firmly covered his neck. As he just said a large amount of blood spurted out from the wound. There was a path to heaven, yet you didn't want to take it. Instead, you adamantly rushed to the gate of hell. Tang Xiu said with a smile, "Since this is the case, I can only give you the ride myself." That's right. After you have arrived in hell and the king of hell asks how you died, do remember to tell him that. I'm called Tang Xiu. He should know who I am, because I already sent him many just like you. The moment Tang Xiu finished speaking, Gao Yanfeng's hands covered his neck as his body slid off the sofa and fell to the floor. Tang Xiu then shifted his eyes to Gu Xiaoxue. As intelligent as she was, Gu Xiaoxue immediately understood Tang Xiu's meaning and respectfully said, "I'll take care of it, Grand Master. All of Gao Yanfeng's forces will be slain and all of his properties will be taken at the shortest time possible. Take all of his assets, but I don't want a bloodbath. Let those who are not Gao Yanfeng's close friends or confidants go." Tang Xiu said, "Furthermore, it's quite unfair for the Everlasting Feast Hall to act and deal with the wine garden. Let the Everlasting Feast Hall's people join with the Seaside Straight Manor's people to deal with it. Thus, the benefits will then be evenly divided. What do you say, Uncle Dong?" Shocked by Tang Xiu's methods, although Tang Dong knew what Tang Xiu had to do to rout the Yaos and the Suns in Guangyang, however, he didn't witness it personally. But now, Tang Xiu's cold side when he killed Gao Yanfeng, who he abhorred so much, without batting an eyelid, secretly made him apprehensive. No opinion. How could Tang Dong have other ideas at this time? He's so happy that he had no time for it. Looking at Fatty G, Tang Xiu then said with a smile, I heard that you strayed from your intended role and supported him? Did such a matter really happen? Hastily getting up, Fatty G bowed and said to Tang Dong, I was in the wrong before. Gao Yanfeng gave me some benefits for me to take his side. Anyhow, I'm formally apologizing to you, and I'll give you 10 times what I got from Gao Yanfeng as a token of apology. How about it? Chapter 405, Like a Tiger Who Has Grown Wings. Like people said, anyone can make mistakes, but forgive them when possible. As Tang Dong glanced at Tang Xiu, he found Tang Xiu nodding at him. Therefore, he said, no problem. But, I want you keep quiet about tonight. Fatty G nodded repeatedly, albeit with a bit rudeness, and said with a smile, don't worry. I will let it rot in my stomach. Even if someone asks, I'll deny all knowledge of this matter. Waving his hand, Tang Xiu then said with a smile, all right, take a seat and let's have a chat. Anyhow, I heard you're running a mineral business? Can you tell me what kind of minerals you have? Most of the mineral and/or businesses I run are mine exploitation and selling some of the mined stones. Fatty G said, I also have a stone carving workshop. That's it. Surely it doesn't mean that you don't find any precious ores, right? Tang Xiu asked, for example, the market's high-price ores. This, Fatty G looked a bit hesitant. Seeing that Tang Xiu and Fatty G were talking about ores and minerals, Gu Xiaoxue and Tang Dong left the box in succession to arrange the plan to deal with the wine garden. It was like Tang Xiu was able to read Fatty G's mind, as he calmly said, don't hesitate if you have something to say. I won't hide it from you. I need a great amount of precious ores. You can quote your price. As long as I take a liking to them, I'll buy. Besides, I prefer to have a steady flow of business, and I was never one to bully people. Looking much relieved, Fatty G then replied, there's one business I run that's indeed related to rare minerals. Some of them were acquired in the mountains mines, while some others were bought through various channels. If anything, there are several precious ores in my house, which I bought through a certain channel some days ago. If Boss Tang wants, I'll give them all to you. How about sending them over to me? After all, I have yet to see the ores. If I like them, you can rest assured that I won't take them for free. Tang Xiu said. Fatty G's face moved and he immediately took out his mobile. After dialing a cell number and speaking to the other side, he then ended the call. I've given instructions. It will be sent over within the hour. If you can find a plethora of precious ores, you don't have to sell them to anyone else but me in the future. Tang Xiu said with a smile, sell them all to me. I won't let you suffer a loss either. But I'll strictly control the quality, though. Thus, we'll be partners in the future. Partners? Fatty G's eyes lit up, as he said with a beaming smile, good. We'll be partners in the future. If I get precious ores, I'll certainly let you choose first. Gao Yanfeng's body had been disposed of, and the blood on the floor had also been cleaned up. If it wasn't for a faint smell of blood in the air, no one could think that Gao Yanfeng, a very strong figure in Jingmen Island, had died here. As for his men outside the box, they already had been dealt with by the everlasting feast hall's people. Grand Master, it's done. After Gu Xiaoxue and Tang Xiu returned to the box, she then reported. I'm not worried about that since you dealt with it. Tang Xiu smiled and said, anyways, Uncle Dong, please have a seat. Tang Dong looked bright, wearing a beaming smile on his face. The issues that had pressed his heart recently were solved satisfactorily at last, and it made him delighted. He was also very satisfied with his nephew. Previously, he didn't understand how Tang Xiu, who was definitely very young, could be more resourceful than Tang Yunpeng, that he even struck heavy blows to the Yaos and the Suns in Guangyang. But now, he finally understood that he had the backing of the mysterious and formidable Everlasting Feast Hall. With this powerful backing, even if it was the Yaos of Beijing, they wouldn't necessarily lose. He would to tell his old man about this matter when he went back today. And then he'd ask the other 3 elders in their family whether or not they would begin attacking the Yaos. After all, to the Tang family, they were definitely more powerful now with the Everlasting Feast Hall joining their ranks. Thus, it shouldn't be difficult to destroy the Yao family. Uncle Dong, I want you to keep quiet about tonight's matter. Tang Xiu said, keep my identity as the master of the Everlasting Feast Hall to yourself. Why? Tang Dong was confused. If anything, I still have important things to handle. Tang Xiu calmly said, if you disclose anything about me being the Everlasting Feast Hall's owner, our enemies will probably find out about it. By then, they will definitely set their eyes on the Everlasting Feast Hall. Thus, it will create unceasing troubles for us. What I need is time. Time to solve some things. If I have a few more years of time, let alone the Yaos, even if there are 10 other Yao families, I'm confident of getting rid of them. Tang Dong was startled inside. He now understood as to why Tang Xiu had never stated his identity as the master of the Everlasting Feast Hall. It was originally due to this concern. Moreover, Tang Dong could tell that he must have a big plan given his seriousness in telling him to keep quiet. Tang Xiu, I indeed had the intention to tell this matter to your second grandpa after going back. Tang Dong said seriously, but since you're urging me not to, then I won't tell anything. I guarantee that nothing will be disclosed to the outside as long as Fatty G doesn't say anything as well. Showing a faint smile in response, Tang Xiu then looked at Gu Xiaoxue and said, Xiaoxue, when the Seaside Straight Manor goes hunting fierce beasts in the Evil Dragon Sea area later, send a few experts from our Everlasting Feast Hall. We can train our members and get a commission fee from the Seaside Straight Manor at the same time. I believe that with Uncle Dong's generous disposition, he will give 300,000 yuan for each member. I'll arrange it, Grand Master. Gu Xiaoxue nodded. Tang Xiu, these experts from the Everlasting Feast, are they more powerful than the Seaside Straight Manor's hunting members? Tang Dong's eyes lit up and asked with concern. I've come across your Seaside Straight Manor's hunting members when I happened to see them hunting low-level fierce beasts before. Gu Xiaoxue replied Tang Dong's question, let alone those low-level fierce beasts, the experts who will be sent by our Everlasting Feast Hall can even kill higher-level fierce beasts as long as they join forces. They are that powerful? Tang Dong was pleasantly surprised and said, great, good then. If so, it's decided. I'll give 200,000 yuan to each Everlasting Feast Hall's member who goes with our hunting members to Evil Dragon Sea area. I will also give bonus rewards if they show good performance. Anyways, Uncle Dong, I still have things to do, so I won't be able to accompany you. When the oars have arrived, tell Xiaoxue to call me. Tang Xiu chuckled. Okay, go busy yourself. Tang Dong stood and said with a smile. Today, he felt more delighted than he ever before. The more powerful Tang Xiu's ability and cards he had in his hands, the happier he was. Because at present, although the Tangs were still illustrious in China, yet, they were secretly in the middle of mighty undercurrent torrential tides from all directions. It was unknown how many enemies were secretly staring at them. One must note that in these precarious days, due to the Tang family having few members, they were extremely united. There was even the thought inside each member's heart that one's glory is everyone's glory, one dying means everyone dying. Therefore, if Tang Xiu's final performance could bring the Tangs back to its glory, even he himself was willing to go all out to push Tang Xiu to become the family head. A few minutes later, Tang Xiu returned to the exquisite pagoda. As he saw Gu Yan sitting cross-legged in cultivation, he also sat down cross-legged on the floor and began cultivating. Master. A few seconds after, Gu Yan floated from the ice bed and landed in front of Tang Xiu. She also imitated Tang Xiu's posture and sat cross-legged. Why did you stop cultivating? Tang Shou smilingly said. Yan doesn't want to waste time. Gu Yan shook her head and said with a smile, being able to open my eyes and have another second together with Master. I shall use every second to be with you. Anyways, what happened outside? Was it solved? That trivial matter has already been solved. Tang Shou said with a smile. Tang Shou then explained his identity as a member of the Tang family, as well as what happened between Tang Dong and Gao Yanfeng. After telling her everything, he finally said with a smile, "You were for decades, so you should also know the country's national conditions. There are laws and orders indeed, yet the laws can only bind ordinary people. Besides, as long as it is done cleanly and without leaving any pieces of evidence, no one will be able to do anything even if they want to find trouble. Master, if you want to become this country's, no, if you want to become the man with the most power on earth, I can help you achieve it. The Chinese have the saying that those who follow shall prosper and those who resist shall perish, right? I know you're powerful, you're able to blow the whole earth. What else can't you do, anyway?" Tang Shou laughed. However, Master wants to rely on my own ability to do what I want to do. Even if I were to become the most powerful man in the world, what about it? It's better to have many loyal and powerful subordinates following me. Don't forget, our goal is to return to the immortal world and take revenge. Yes, yes. Gu Yan smiled and said, anything Master says, Yan will listen and follow. You little girl, Tang Shou couldn't help laughing. Gu Yan quickly pulled his hand, looking displeased. Master, I'm not a silly little girl anymore, I've grown up already. Even though I'm still very young in your eyes, I'm also an old monster who has lived for thousands of years in the eyes of others. Hence, don't call me little girl anymore. All right, all right. Tang Shou laughed and said, our family's Yan is a big girl now, no longer a little girl. That's more like it. Gu Yan then lifted her small face, her smile looking especially happy. Let's stop talking about this. Let me ask you one thing. Tang Shou said with a smile. What do you want to ask, Master? Gu Yan raised her chin and said, as long as Yan knows, Yan will answer you. I want to know why you only accepted Xiao Xue as a disciple, but didn't take in light and dark? Tang Shou asked. I've observed them quietly, and I found that their aptitudes are indeed extraordinary. Even their cultivation level is probably on par with Xiao Xue, is it not?